Hey there, I'm Tim, and today we're going to get through some tips that you can use to get a state rank in business studies like I did in 2018. But before we get to these tips today, I would like to first go through what it takes to actually get a state rank in business studies. But if you just want to get to these tips, then feel free to skip over to the timestamp labeled here, and I will see you there. All you need to get a state rank in business studies is to get a mark of between 97 to 100 out of 100 in total. That average mark is calculated using 50% of your internal marks and 50% of your external marks. So your external marks is calculated in a quite straightforward manner. You basically get the external mark that you get on your exam paper. However, your internal marks is a different story. What internal marks you get depends on the external marks that your school as a cohort gets and your ranking within that cohort. So let's take the hypothetical student of Bob. Bob came first internally. His external mark was 96 out of 100. Then in second place, we've got Jason, who got the external mark of 92. And in third place, we got Samuel, who got the highest external mark of 99 out of 100. I don't know, maybe Samuel went beast mode after the trials because he really wanted to do well for business studies. Right? Well, for Bob, he keeps his external mark. That doesn't change. So Bob's external mark equals his own external mark, which is equal to 96. However, Bob's internal mark is 99 out of 100. The reason for that is because he came first internally, and so he should get the first external mark as his internal mark. And when we calculate Bob's HSC mark, we will find that it is the average of his internal mark and his external mark, which is 99 plus 96 over 2, which is 97.5 out of 100, and we round that, that's 98 out of 100. Hopefully that gives you some insight as to how the HSC marking calculations are done. Now, I know that all sounds really intimidating, and guess what? You'd be right. When I was in your shoes in year 12, I felt totally crushed when I received back my first in-class assessment report for business studies, and I realized that I had only received like a 60%-ish mark for that assessment. That assessment took me down to 16th place out of 40 students in my entire business studies cohort. And I was completely dumbfounded by that. Because, you see, in the cohort before my year, not a single person got a band 6. So that means even if I had somehow went from 16th place to first place in the 3 assessments that I had left, which was really unlikely, there was no guarantee that I would even get a band 6, let alone a friggin' state rank. So you can see, no matter what kind of blunder you make, there is still a lot of opportunity to make a huge recovery. So, without further delay, this is how I achieved first in the state for HSC Business Studies in New South Wales. Everyone struggles with business report writing, and you can see that I am no exception. My tip number 1 is always to plan out your extended response before writing it. It should look something like this. If you're writing an extended response or section 4 response, you should always include some examples as part of your plan. That plan will help you avoid the "oh shit, I forgot to write about supply chain management" moment and make you write much faster since you will know what you're writing. Making a detailed plan before writing your answer also always leaves a good impression on the marker. Think about it. If you're the marker and you can already see that the student knows which syllabus dot points the question is asking for from the plan, then you're going to be giving that student at least a 15 out of 20 already, because that student understands what you're asking for. But then you may ask, how am I supposed to remember all of these syllabus dot points and content that is necessary to write a perfect 20 out of 20 extended response or stimulus-based business report? Well, tip number 2 is your best friend. Syllabus, fill in the blanks, and flashcards will help you easily remember large amounts of information such that you can recall them very quickly. You see, this baby right over here held all of the flashcards that I used for business studies for the topics of finance and human resources. Now, I'm sure you probably are already using flashcards, and that is really good. Well done to you, and keep doing that, please. But the secret to ensuring these flashcards will help you the most effective way possible is that you need to review them consistently. You see, if you make your flashcards, good, that's really good, but if you just review those flashcards like a week or 2 weeks before your final exams, they're not really going to help you that much. The reason for this is because there is a phenomenon called the forgetting curve. You see, if you review those flashcards like the day before your exam or the week before, the strength of your memory in memorizing the content on your flashcards is not going to be as strong as if you had reviewed them throughout the entire term, or even better, the entire year. So it is the best to start as early as possible in reviewing your flashcards. For example, I made my flashcards for the finance and human resources topic, so pretty much all of the entire HSC Business Studies course, during the Christmas holidays. That way, when term 1 started in 2018, I had 3 more terms to review the entire HSC Business Studies course. Meanwhile, everyone else was still stumbling through the content and making notes and barely even beginning their revision. And yet, I was already revising the content. See, if you want a state rank, that's where you want to be with your flashcards. The other benefit with using flashcards is that it allows you to write out answers to questions very quickly. I was able to complete the short answer section, which is worth 40 marks, in my HSC Business Studies exam in under 40 minutes. So that's a mark a minute. You should be aiming for that as well, but I will cover the time distribution as to how you should use your time in an exam in another video. But anyways, how was I able to do that, right? How was I able to write out answers that quickly? Well, the secret is flashcards. If you review these consistently enough, you will be able to, write out all the strategies to operations for a business in under, 10 seconds, right? Whereas, someone else who doesn't use flashcards is probably going to take a minute to even think about just 60% or 70% of all the possible operation strategies there are. So that's the beauty of flashcards. It gives you an edge over other students who do not do the active recall, who do not do the flashcards. And in that way, it gives you a lot more time to do the exam. This is just a final note on how you should use flashcards to best improve your studies. You see, when you review a flashcard, let's say, and you got quite confused about what the answer of the flashcard is, or you failed to review or recall a couple of the points on the back of the flashcard, then you should try to review that flashcard again instead of just skipping over it. Let's take an example of this flashcard, the objectives of financial management. Say I'm reviewing it. Okay, so the objectives of financial management are profitability, liquidity, and growth. And then I look at the answers on the back. Okay, so the answers are actually profitability, liquidity, efficiency, growth, and solvency. So I only got 60% of the flashcard right because I missed out on efficiency and solvency. Well, in that case, you don't just skip over to the next flashcard, okay? Because you haven't remembered what is on this flashcard perfectly. And in an HSC exam, if the question's asking you, okay, outline all of the financial objectives, then you're kind of screwed. So when you're reviewing a flashcard like this, you need to try again. So let me review this flashcard again. Okay, so the objectives are profitability, liquidity, efficiency, growth, and solvency. Let's check. All right, I got it right this time. Now I can move on to the next flashcard. That is how you should be reviewing your flashcards. Because this way, you're putting more efforts into your flashcards and you are more likely to remember them. You see, there is a principle in psychology. It's called the effort principle, or whatever it was. But it essentially says that the more effort you put into something, the more likely it is that you will remember it, the longer you will remember it, and the faster you will remember it. So please review the flashcard thoroughly instead of just skipping over it if you're confused. I know this sounds like a lot more effort than what you're probably used to when reviewing flashcards, but believe me, this effort will pay off. And this is the difference between how I reviewed my flashcards in my first term and how I reviewed my flashcards towards the end of my trials. And as you know, in my first term of business studies, I didn't do particularly well. So please account for this error within reviewing your flashcards. And I hope this tip serves you well. My third and final tip for you is to always keep a feedback sheet for any feedback that you have received from your teachers, as well as answers to any questions that you found quite confused about. Your feedback sheet should look something like this. For example, in my trials, I got confused about the difference between key performance indicators and the business's marketing objectives. As you may or may not know, the business's marketing objectives are actually assessed using the business's key performance indicators. So let's take the objective of maximizing customer service. How do we assess that objective? Well, we can assess that using the key performance indicator of whether the business has actually seen an increased amount of sales. Because, if the business has been delivering better customer service, then more customers will want to come back and make repeat purchases, which would thereby improve the business's sales. So in a way, you can see the key performance indicators are a way to benchmark whether or not the business has achieved an objective. So I got the subtle difference wrong in my trial exams, and so I recorded this mistake in my feedback sheet. As you can see, this is a very subtle issue that the textbook does not draw specific attention to. And that's why it's really important to keep a list of these subtle issues within your feedback sheet. So when the HSC exams roll around and the HSC markers, let's say, wants to throw a curveball at you, you're going to have no problem dealing with it. And you won't make the same mistakes that other students will make. It is this attention to detail that distinguishes state rankers from Band 6 students. Having a feedback sheet is really important, and I would like to stress this again with an analogy. Think of your exam performance as a sheet of paper that has many holes in it. Every single time you write down a feedback on that feedback sheet, you are patching up these holes in your exam performance, which is the paper, right? And by the time that you patch up all the holes in that paper, that's when you become capable of getting a state rank. A final note about getting feedback. You should always ask your teachers about any questions that you are confused about, as well as get feedback for any practice responses you've done. In high school, most teachers are actually willing to help you out, as long as you ask nicely and actually show appreciation for their time. They want you to do well. Now, if your teacher doesn't want to give you feedback, or if they seem a little hesitant about it, then try asking them nicely again. However, even if after doing that, they still don't want to help you out, then please, by all means, ask other business studies teachers at your school. Or, if there's no other business studies teachers at your school, then please post a report on the business studies discussion group that I will post a link down in the comments below, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. You see, it is rare for students to even show the initiative to do practice responses for the sake of practice in the first place. And so most senior markers and teachers will respect that initiative coming from you. And those are the 3 most important tips that I would give out to any of you prospective business studies state rankers out there. I hope you have benefited much from this video. And if you have any thoughts or questions whatsoever, please let me know in the comments down below. Please feel free to like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. I will see you in the next video, and best of luck to you.